Hello, everyone. My name is Alfonso Esquir, and today we are joined by Career Services. A little bit about myself. I am the program director for the Criminal Justice Program here at Point Loma Nazarene University. I obtained a master's degree in criminal justice and a second master's degree in social work. Prior to my employment with Point Loma, I was actually employed as a Drug Enforcement Administration criminal investigator, a special agent. I also have a background in social work and a chaplain that teaches within the criminal justice correctional system. And so I've had many opportunities to work with different populations of people. And so today we'd like to share some of our experiences and give you some career tips.
Hi, everyone. My name is Evi Alvarez. I am the program manager for career services here on campus, and I'm an alum myself, graduated with a bachelor's in communications and a minor in nonprofit management. I first worked in HR, being a talent acquisition coordinator, so a lot of the hiring and connecting applicants to different programs. The reason that I got this job was also through volunteering and having that personal connection. So when it came to applying for the role, I had a great letter of recommendation from the previous director. Today, we're going to be covering job and internship search. We're going to be going over some basic information, job search process, and what that could look like from start to finish. And then we'll cover some general tips and provide you with some resources that you can pull from our website. Jumping right into it, we're going to be defining the difference between job and a career. So a job is a short-term position to focus on earning money, where a career is a long-term professional journey that's really built on your passions, your skills, and the advancement that you hope for your future. Moving on to some of the fun facts. It takes roughly 3 to 6 months for college students to find jobs post-grad. 80% of job openings are filled directly through a professional networking connection. So it really does matter how strategic you are in your applications and the connections that you're starting to build here, even as a student. 70% of employers are also offering full-time positions to their interns. So if you are currently volunteering or doing an internship, make sure that you're building into your conversations your interest for staying on with them. So what is the purpose of having a thoughtful job search? It's important to be using your time wisely and your resources. So having a clear strategy is going to allow you to focus your efforts on the things that matter most. Overall, you're going to see that there's going to be a lot of applications out there, and you really want to refine your search to maybe like your top 10 instead of sending mass applications. Also helps build up your confidence because you understand what employers are looking for, and it allows you to better prepare for the future. It's important to be adapting to market trends. The job market is very dynamic, and these skills will last you your entire career. We wanted to give you a rough vision of what the job search process could look like. Once again, this is not always linear, but usually you start with a self-assessment and your own internal research. You're identifying the skills that you bring to the table, what interests you, what goals you have, what values you want, and then also maybe some organizations or companies that you're most interested in working for. And then you're going to develop a job search strategy. This will help you determine how you will search, also track your applications. If you're looking for a job tracker, we have an example of one on our website that you can pull from. Then you're going to start building that network and maintaining the relationships that you already have. You're going to work on developing and also updating your materials. This is your resume, your CV, and also your cover letter. Then you're going to submit a formal application. And we realize that this process might be very different depending on what bucket you fall into. And we'll talk about those in just a bit, but also what the employer is requesting from you. After you submit an application, you typically will be going through an interview process, and that could look very different. After the interview, you will either get a letter saying that you got the job and they're asking for you to accept, or they're telling you that you didn't move on, sending you a denial letter. So when we're saying that it's important to develop a job search strategy, we're really telling you to focus on providing quality versus quantity. So instead of focusing your efforts on just mass applying to 100 different applications, you should be really narrowing down your search and being selective. You should be applying to jobs that are worth your time and your efforts, because in your application, it's expected that you are tailoring your resume or your CV and your cover letter for these different companies or organizations. So choose a few positions that interest you the most, and then really spend the time refining those documents and tailoring them as best as you can. These are some job satisfaction factors that we think are important for you to know of: purpose and company values, your appreciation for your work, strong relationships, work-life balance, learning and career development, job security, compensation, mobility and growth, flexibility, and culture, values, and work environment. Something that you should keep in mind of when you're assessing these different factors and maybe even the job applications or the job offers that you do get. As you are starting to network and really expand your circle, you want to be having what we call career conversations. So they are known as informational interviews. This is a discussion with someone who has knowledge and experience in your specific field. And these conversations are typically held with individuals who can share insights, wisdom, and lived experience. We're going to be moving to job search platforms. With these platforms, I want you to know that they're not specific to maybe your program. So you will have to sift through it a little bit more, but I did want to go over them in case they would be helpful for you in your search. So Indeed, it's very easy to navigate. We actually have a partnership with them. It's easy to find jobs and then set up alerts for those specific key terms of those jobs or roles that you're looking for. You can also research employers and find different information about salaries specific to roles. In addition to that, they also have a job search academy where you can walk through a video series and develop your resume, work through strong interview preparation tips, and more. Moving on, we have LinkedIn, very similar to Indeed. This is a great platform for you to start building your network online. So let's say that you're really interested in working for an organization. You should be following them and then also connecting with people from their organization so that you're up to date on events that they're hosting or job opportunities because you don't know what they're going to have down the line. Even for myself, I found out about this job directly through somebody that posted it on LinkedIn. And then Handshake, this is still a platform that Point Loma uses currently. And same thing, you already have a login using your Point Loma credentials, and you can access jobs and internships as well as make connections.
Now, being that you are criminal justice majors, some of you may have an interest in gaining employment with the federal government. And so this section here are for those who are interested in federal employment, and specifically in the realm of law enforcement or possibly intelligence. So usajobs.gov is the premier site where federal jobs are posted and listed. So you'll want to navigate yourself to usajobs.gov. There'll be a search box there, and you will enter in the specific job that you're looking for. If you're looking for positions as a criminal investigator, you would type in either criminal investigator or special agent, and you would begin to look through the different jobs that are posted out there. Specifically, if you're looking for careers with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, or the Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA, or the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, or any of the other three-letter agencies that are out there, you'll want to go through the job description and make sure that you are eligible to apply. You may want to begin at the entry-level criminal investigator positions. The application process can be extensive. So one thing I want to emphasize is to be persistent. Make sure that you are completing every process that is required. And there are multiple phases with specific requirements to each. And each process may take a certain level of time in duration. So that is where you being persistent and patient, and that will be very helpful in your process. The same goes for police departments and any state government type of employment. For police departments, you'll want to apply directly on their website. For those that are local police departments, let's say, for example, you would like to work for the San Diego Police Department, you could go to their website and their application process will be there. I coupled these with the federal employment jobs because the application process is similar. They're going to ask for a very extensive background process. Sometimes the application can be 10 to 30 pages long. They'll ask you to go back up to 10 years of your personal history. And so you'll want to have those documents available, sometimes addresses of where you may have lived or previous employers. You'll need to get references. So make sure that you're mentally preparing for that. Again, the application can be extensive. And I mentioned there's testing phases. Some of these phases will have the following criteria: initial screening. You will have a panel interview, and I do want to mentally prepare you for these panel interviews where you may experience something slightly different than your traditional job application, where in the panel interview, you may have multiple people that are employed with the agency that you're looking to get into, and they will ask you a series of questions. They may go around the table and you should just be prepared, calming yourself, maybe exercising and practicing some of these interview questions before you actually go before the panel interview. You'll also have that extensive background check. Many of the agencies will have physical fitness tests, so make sure you're preparing yourself appropriately. There will also be a medical exam, which examines your physical abilities, as well as a full psychological assessment, which assesses your mental capabilities. Some positions that require a top secret clearance, such as any of the three-letter agencies, such as FBI, DEA, ATF, they may require a polygraph, and that you want to just go into very calmly and prepared to be honest and upfront, and you could get that completed. And then finally, there will be a job offer. Once again, usajobs.gov is the site that federal jobs are posted. You want to become familiar with the website. You want to look at the search and set up job alerts for relevant positions. So if you're looking for a position, once again, in the intelligence field or in the enforcement of the law, then you'll want to set yourself up for those alerts, because many of these positions are very competitive. You're competing against a nationwide position. So you'll want to make sure that you are receiving these alerts as soon as they come out, because most of them will have a closing date. So they may be open for about a month, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer, but you'll want to stay on top of that. You'll want to research different career paths within the federal criminal investigations and intelligence community. You'll want to understand requirements for each position and develop a plan to achieve your goals. So if in the specific criteria for what that agency is specifically looking for, you'll want to make yourself marketable. And how that happens is by, one, you're obtaining your education, possibly consider an advanced degree or graduate degree. If they're interested in learning another language, that's maybe something you might want to consider, or a specialized field such as technology or psychology. There's many different criteria that they might ask for that make you more marketable. These are just things to consider, as well as your own personal experience. So the federal hiring process is competitive, as I mentioned, so you want to make sure to have a plan B, a C, and even a D. I've mentioned that the federal government employs people that have clean backgrounds, that are ethical, and that can do the job that they're asking for, but they also are looking for people that are moldable, teachable. And so if you don't get into the exact agency that you are looking for, let's say it's the FBI, you might want to consider applying for several of the other federal agencies as a stepping stone to possibly get you into meeting your actual career goals. For example, if you are wanting to get into the FBI, you may want to consider working for a police department for a few years, or possibly even one of the sister agencies, and then you're able to transfer to that exact agency that you are wanting to get into. Again, you want to make yourself marketable, specialized skills, possibly furthering your education. The federal hiring process can be slow, as I mentioned, so don't get discouraged. If you don't hear back immediately, make sure you are following up. Whoever your point of contact is, make sure you keep them close, and you follow up with an email or a phone call at least once a month, just to let them know that you're still interested and that you are available. Persistence and patience is key in obtaining these type of positions. Some of the good things to know that I think would have been helpful in my career path. I mentioned at the beginning that I was employed with the Drug Enforcement Administration as a special agent, a criminal investigator. I would have liked to have known some of these differences in the benefits that are available to you. So when you look at the job announcement, it may have a pay salary, which most federal agencies will pay on a general services scale, and that's available to the public. So you could simply do a search online and look at what a GS7 or a GS9 is paid in their base salary. That's generally the starting point, starting salary at what you will come in with. But I would like to talk about the additional benefits that come in with your pay, and that is the base salary. Also, you will have a locality pay, and this can range from anywhere from 14 to 35% of your base pay, depending on the location, as well as law enforcement availability pay, or LEAP. and that's an additional 25% above the base salary. So if, let's say, for example, $50,000 per year for a general service GS7, then if you are located at a city that is high in cost, such as Los Angeles or San Diego, you may be receiving 35% on top of that 50,000, and then an additional 25% on top of that 50,000. So you could do the math, and that increases your total salary. There's multiple parts to your pay and benefits, and so I wanted just to make that clear. You'll also be required to obtain a top secret clearance and retain it during your career. So simply getting the top secret clearance upon entry or employment with an agency is required, but then you'll also need to maintain that top secret clearance, and that means maintaining yourself as an outstanding citizen throughout your career. You also have to sign a mobility agreement, and that means that it's dependent on where the agency needs you most. Now, it's not common for people to be relocated or have to transfer against their will. Normally, this happens when somebody volunteers to want to transfer to another office, maybe out of state, maybe even out of country. But generally, it will be up to you and your desire to volunteer to transfer. But you will be required to sign a mobility agreement. That means that if in the case that they really need you at a certain location, that you will be willing to move. So that's important, because if you are grounded and rooted in a certain city and you do not want to move no matter what, then this may not be the career path for you. You also have to participate in a federal training academy. Depending on the agency, it may be anywhere from 12 to 16 weeks long, and that would be in the location of where their academies are held. Sometimes agencies are in Virginia or in Washington, D.C., or in Georgia, in different locations. And generally, you will have to be there at the academy for that duration of time. So you would need to prepare for that if you have other commitments, such as family or children, or things that do not allow you to relocate for that extended period of time. So these are great things to know. And I did also want to talk about another track that you may be considering: law school. So you may want to consider your legal career goals to start off. School options. It's important to understand, what type of law do you want to practice? Where do you see yourself with a law degree once you've obtained it? And that may help you in considering what type of law school you will apply to. Law school is very competitive. It's not a given. So simply applying to a law school does not necessarily guarantee that you will get accepted. And so that should be helpful in your considerations on what law school to choose. Law school admissions tests are required of most ABA requirements for acceptance, and that means that you will want to prepare. The law school admissions test is not an easy one. Statistically speaking, it has a pass rate that, or actually a good score will actually help you in choosing the law school or being admitted into your desired law school. So you'll want to make sure that you take plenty of preparation time to take the LSAT. Point Loma Nazarene University does have workshops that could help prepare you to take that LSAT. Also, there's an application process, and generally that is 3-tiered. They will look at your grade point average, generally of your undergraduate degree. They will also look at your LSAT score, and they will also look at your extracurricular activities and work experience. So these are things that you may want to start to prepare for. If you don't have a lot of work experience or extracurricular activities, you may want to think about volunteering, making yourself more marketable to be able to get admitted into that law school. And then lastly, in criminal justice, we may consider careers in social issues and advocacy. Often students will want to get engaged with the criminal justice system to advocate or to be involved with many of the social issues that we're seeing within our communities. And so there are plenty of employers out there in the nonprofit organizations. And so if you are interested in social issues and advocacy, you may want to consider nonprofits or direct services. So direct services would be considered working directly with people or groups. And that could be in many different forms. Really, it's providing a social assistance in the direction of where you see a need for social issues, reform or change or improvements. You may also want to consider advocacy and policy, and that may be being a part of advocating towards policy change, advocacy improvement, or policy improvement, changing of laws. There are many different career paths. Also, program management, where you would oversee programs that are in advocacy or that relate directly to many of the different social issues. There's also employment in social services realm as well as community organization. The type of employment you pursue will depend on your interests, skills, and experience. And many roles require a combination of education, experience, and a strong commitment to social change. So my challenge to you is to reflect within yourself and where do you fit in what is your role? Who are you called to be as far as your employment goes?
So, as a quick recap for best practices when you are preparing for the job search process. First, network strategically, leverage relationships that you already have, and then have career conversations as much as possible. Tailor each application. So, you should be customizing your resume and your cover letter, and you can even use AI tools to help you do so more efficiently. Confirm a job opening, so reach out to verify before applying. I know that a lot of the times on Indeed or maybe even these different job search platforms, they're going to have outdated applications still posted. So when in doubt, email them directly or try to get in contact with them elsewhere to see if they're still taking applications. Then lastly, track your progress. Use a job tracker to organize and see the trends. I think it's really important to be organized as much as possible. So in my job tracker, I have a copy of my resume, my cover letters that I've submitted, and then I have the organization, the roles that I'm applying for, the pay, the job application process. So if I've started it, if I've completed it, if I'm waiting to hear back, or if I've interviewed already, that's all documented on there. Here are a few resources. We will be providing a link to these slides. When you click on it, you will actually be pointed to our website where it has all of these. You'll also find ChatGPT prompts that are specific to the job search process.